Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Evolved, but showing you what you need to know for Ascended. Now essentially what I'm going to show you is where to get the resources, every single resources that you need, or every single resource that you could possibly need, the best place to get them, how to get them, including which dinos or items you need to use, because some of the stuff that you had in Ark Survival Evolved won't be available. So we're going to go ahead and show you every single resource that you could possibly need to know. And I'll start with the easiest, and then we'll kind of like move our way down. So anyways, in the upper right corner, you will see a permanent version of the map. So that way I don't have to keep showing you the chords, but you can probably piece, I mean, you guys aren't dumb. You can piece it together where I am just based upon that information in the upper right corner. So we are at Fertile Lake right now. So this is actually, we're gonna go, I'm just gonna get into it and we'll kind of go from there. So if you go to the bottom of Fertile Lake, this is the best place that you can get access to silica pearls, and actually one of the few spots on the map that's actually pretty safe silica pearls. The only thing that's dangerous down here are going to be the crocodiles and some carcanos every now and then. But if you're on an anglerfish, you can easily outswim them and get a few thousand silica pearls just by, you know, cruising around the bottom of this. Now, pretty easy to do, and anglerfish are honestly pretty easy to tame on this map. You can tame them over in the blue zone. But that is one of the resources that can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, is to get access to silica pearls. So definitely keep an eye on that. Now, as long as we're over here, I'm also going to go ahead and show you the surface stuff, because getting some stuff on the surface is very important to do. And by that, I mean, it's literally something you have to do in order to really play this game. So the surface resources that you want to know is basically up on the surface, you have access to three major things, and that is element ore. And that element ore can be found because it looks like a purplish rock. See these purplish rocks right here? I'm gonna go ahead and start this guy up so you can see. See how I got a ton of element ore out of that. Element ore is gonna be useful to actually craft element for you, and you can get a absolute crap ton up here on the surface. It's also the best place to get any access to obsidian, because obsidian spawns in an awesome amount over on the surface, so that's pretty awesome. So element ore and obsidian are up here in very, very high quantities. Now, the last thing that you'll be able to find up on this zone is quite a bit of crystal, but it's easier to get crystal just from the blue, red, and green nodes in the regular map. But the best place to get element ore and obsidian is definitely on these surface caves. So now that we've talked about that, you can also come down inside of this zone right here. Obviously, you will not have access to a mining drill, but if you use either a tame or a pick/hatchet, you can harvest these bones, and these bones will give you a stupid amount of chitin and keratin, or I guess keratin, which is the same thing as chitin, and you can get a couple 100,000 ridiculously quick. So definitely utilize that, because that'll save you a ton of time. Now, obviously those are dangerous zones, so it's a little bit more difficult to get some of the stuff that you need. So that is how you get those first three sets of resources. The next things that you need to know from the green zone is getting access to these guys right here. Using an Anki or a pick is your best friend to get access to green gems. Green gems and crystal will be what you get out of that. And then if you want to get, as long as we're right here, obviously you can see that I'm absolutely, you know, baked out of my mind according to this game. But as long as you're careful near them, you can get biotoxin in high quantities, as well as all of the different mushrooms that you need from the red mushrooms inside of the actual green zone, if you want to think of it that way. Green zone is the only place that these red ones spawn. And if you find the mushrooms that have a little red bottom to them, that is how you get access to the biotoxin. And it's also the dangerous one, because you can see that it makes your screen go all, you know, like you're tripping out. But if you get those red mushrooms, you can get access to biotoxin, and you saw the biotoxin there, and a bunch of things like rare mushrooms and all of the mushrooms that you need. So those red mushrooms are your best friend when it comes to actually harvesting things over on this map. So there's green gems. Now that's pretty much the main stuff that you need to know about the green zone. The only really good resources that it has is those red mushrooms, the silica pearls that we talked about, and you can find them in this lake, or this river right here, by the way, that goes out of Fertile Lake. This is a easy access to silica pearls for like beginners. You can only get a few, I don't know, maybe 200 if you just pick them by hand up and down this river, but it's something that's better than nothing, right? So yeah, that's the easy way to do it. Now, I'm not going to talk about harvesting organic polymer from Carcanos because there's actually a much better way with a dire bear, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But that's all the green area resources that you need to know about. So we're going to go ahead and move on into the blue zone, which is the best place that you can get a hold of pretty much every other resource except for 1 or 2 in the entire game. Now, my favorite place to go is this ledge right over here next to that waterfall. And you can kind of see it on the map in the upper right corner. These small trees actually count as redwood trees, so harvesting them is actually much better than harvesting any other tree over on this game, and you'll get a stupid amount of resources just for harvesting one of them. You can see that I'm using something that gathers thatch, and I got 1200 on 1x per tree, so definitely capitalize on those. And I guess the one thing I will mention about the green zone is sometimes you're going to need access to fungal wood. Fungal wood can be gathered from this right here. They look like, I don't know, weird mushroom tree things. And that's how you get your fungal wood, by harvesting those. And use a roll rat or a hatchet, and that's the best way to do it. So I won't talk about this too much. These are gas veins. These can be found pretty much everywhere on the entire map. And all you have to do in order to get the gas veins is place a gas extractor on them, and that's how you get your gas bubbles. So anyways, we're moving back into the blue zone. So the blue zone, we talked about these small trees, which are the best way in the entire game to get access to a stupid amount of resources. But you can also hit any rock that has a blue core vein, if you want to think of it that way, to it. And that is how you get metal over on this map. And the blue zone is absolutely chocked full of these blue rocks. This ledge alone, if you harvest it all with an Anki, will give you approximately 50,000 on 1x metal. And if you're on an increase server, this, like, just doing this one time will set you straight for like a week or 2 on metal. So definitely capitalize on that, as well as wood, because you can just harvest it with a roll rat. You can get a stupid amount. So you definitely can't complain on that. So definitely capitalize. And so that's pretty much the major ones. The next spot that you're going to want to go to in the blue zone to get blue gems is one of my favorite spots to go, actually, because it's the easiest place to get a ton of blue gems. If you go to the entrance there where you can kind of like walk down into the blue zone, you can see me on the map in the upper right corner. Don't forget, for those of you like, I can't see, literally just follow the map. You can see there are tons of blue gems all over the place on this way down. You can find those kind of blue gems. You can find the spiky type of blue gems, but all of them will give you a ton of blue gems. And as long as you harvest with an Anki or a pickaxe, you'll have such a high quantity of blue gems that you never need to worry about it again. So definitely use those, because that's a good way to do it. Now, you can also gather these mushrooms right here, and you can see that there's another thing that you can get from this zone. There's 118 that I just got from, it's like a freezing spores is what they're called. And those freezing spores can be counteracted by aquatic mushrooms. So see how it goes down when I eat the aquatic mushrooms. It gives me a shield from the freezing spores. So if you ever get those, don't freak out. Just get a bunch of aquatic mushrooms and you'll be good to go. So yeah. So that's that. But again, that's another good way to get access to biotoxin, as well as all the mushrooms that you would need for the game. Now, also in the blue zone, this is one of the best places that you can actually harvest bushes and berries, because there's such a high concentration. See these little blue things? There's not these ones, the next tall ones up. They will give you access. So these are the redwoods bushes, but if you can find an area where there's like the small little bushes in the blue zone, you will get a stupid amount of berries. Plus these little yellow guys count as berries as well. But you know, the blue zone is definitely one of the places that I almost always go to gather my resources. So I think these are the ones I'm talking about. Yeah, so see these like weird looking fern things? Those you can take a swing with a Bronto and get an insane amount of berries, as well as fiber if you're really looking for fiber. So definitely utilize on that. Now, the other thing that you want to know about inside the blue zone, this lake right here technically has quite a few silica pearls, but it's just a walking death trap, because there are everything that wants to kill you here. Anything from electric eels to baryonyx to carcanos to gators. Don't even bother going in this lake, because I don't know why you would, but everything will knock you off and then kill you. Now, you will have to go here to tame anglerfish, but I would highly recommend you go to this waterfall right here, because you can stand on the edge, and as long as you kill the carcanos, the anglerfish get stuck inside of that zone right there, and you can just freely tame them. You can see that one right there, so I can tame it without even having to worry about my life. So Those are huge advantages, and we've talked about a large portion of the resources that you need. There are a few more that you're going to need access to, obviously, to play this game. I'm going to go ahead and show you, because the next trip that we're going to take will be down in the red zone itself. Now, the red zone itself is going to be something that you'll need to use in order to get some of the more difficult resources, but it's well worth it once you actually get access to those resources. So, you know, do with that what you will. So the big thing that you want to do in order to get a ton of resources from the red zone is find the spire. Now, what the spire is, you look on the map that I'm at right now, you can see this guy right here, and this is the spire. It kind of just drops all the way down, and it leads to a giant skeleton of something. We don't know what it is. We assume that it's a Rex or a Giganotosaurus that's just been, you know, shredded or something like that. And this is where you're going to get access to a ton of resources. So you can also find element ore in here. You know, not quite as much as the surface, but it's still a good chunk of the amount that you might need in order to harvest it. You can also go down here and find, right here, black pearls. Now, black pearls can easily be just picked up with a whip or your hands, because they count as like pearl deposits, if you want to think of it that way. And it's a very easy way to gain access to those. Now, the next thing that you might want to capitalize on is the, I guess not rare flowers, but the flowers over in this zone. So you cannot harvest a lot of this stuff. They look like little bulbs, by the way. And these little bulbs can be harvested by a dire bear. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and go up to the top so you can see where I usually go in order to get a ton of these things. But there is actually a walkway that goes the entire way down this zone. And the safe way to, you know, find this walkway that I'm talking about, you see these bulbs, these bulb-looking flowers here? These will give you organic polymer. Now, though I am harvesting it with a mining drill, you can harvest it with a dire bear, and dire bears get an absolutely insane amount of organic polymer per one of these things. And because they can sprint while eating, you can get, I don't know, probably 20, 30,000 organic polymer just by running down the pathway that I'm on right now. And see all of these little bulb things? Yeah, these are like your best friends. They're organic polymer plants. They only exist in the Aber or the red zone, so they also exist on Valguero when Valguero does come out. But you can find them all over the place here, and a dire bear is your best friend for capitalizing on those. Now, all of that being said, right, the last resource that you're going to really need access to is going to be getting a good chunk of red gems. Now, the red gems can be found anywhere inside of the red zone, but my favorite place to get the red gems is the easiest place, or at least in my opinion, it's the easiest place. If you go to the radiation zone where it meets the blue zone, and that is right over here. This is usually where people tame their reapers as well, by the way, because this zone right here is not radiated, but 2 steps this way, and it is. If you put on a hazard suit, go down into this zone right here, you can drop down over this ledge, and there are a ton of red gems that are pretty quick and easy to get. Now, the biggest thing that you're going to have to fight here, obviously, is the Seekers, so be careful of those. But if you're quick about it, you can get quite a few red gems really rapidly, and then kind of dip out. Now you can see that I'm gathering red gems with this guy, but I would recommend just using a pick or an Anki. Anki, if you just give it a mushroom brew, that's pretty much all you're going to need. So, yeah, not too shabby. So, definitely capitalize on those. So, that is every resource that is major that you're going to need inside of this game. Pretty much everything else, I mean, all the basics like flint and stone and stuff like that, you're going to pick up naturally over time while you're playing the game. So I don't really concern myself too much with those, but if you're really looking for them, using a Doedic instead of a Anki on these metal rocks will gather you such an incredible amount of stone that, I mean, just one run with a Doedicarus will mean that you won't need to get stone for, I don't know, years. And yeah, so definitely use that. And if you're looking for flint and you're trying to get the most of it quickly, you can run up any of these rivers, because these rivers all have small metal or small rocks inside of them. I'll show you what I mean. See these round rocks? You can just run up these rivers with an Anki and swing as you go, and it'll give you a ton of flint as well. Now, some other quick little mini tips that you can have. This Carcanos, if you kill a Carcanos and harvest its body, it'll give you a ton of organic polymer. And that's pretty awesome, obviously. And then the last thing that you want to know is these guys right here will give you access to element for the map. Now, I showed you how to get all of these things. Charge batteries you'll have to make, but everything else is a gatherable resource. And per time you use these right here, they will actually give you 3 element. So if you get a bunch of these in like a little bit of a run on the charge nodes, you'll have access to a ton of elements. So definitely capitalize on that. So hopefully this little resources video helps you get prepped for when AB does get released. I'm sure they'll change a few things, but for the most part, all of the maps have been staying the same. So definitely capitalize and use what you can, because the quicker you can get access to resources means that you are more set up to actually get the base spot you want or what you want going. So hopefully this video helps you out, and teach.